In this episode, I'm going to talk about footwork. We're going to go through 3 simple drills on how to make your footwork better and also give you some tips on how to apply that to your climbing. So the first drill we're going to look at is something really simple. It's just called silent feet. And all that means is instead of making loads of noise with your feet, hitting the back of the wall or adjusting on the footholds and tapping the footholds each time, we're going to try and place the foot really quietly and make as minimal sound as possible. When you watch any really good climbers, you'll notice them doing this automatically. So we're trying to mimic that and force it in a technique drill. Try and do a couple of climbs doing silent feet and then start getting the climbs to get harder and harder and bring it into your normal practice. So do it during the warm-up and then try and continue that as you start training later on. So the second drill we're going to look at is sticky feet. So like the first one, we're trying to improve accuracy of the foothold. So what I'm going to do is you're going to place your foot on the foothold, and rather than adjusting each time and moving your feet around and sliding them around, you've got to place it once. You can twist, but you can't readjust. So it's trying to make sure that you're really focused on those feet every time you place them on a hold. So rather than kind of looking down, going to place your foot and then looking away, you've really got to focus on making the most out of each individual foothold. So it's called sticky feet. Once again, try and do it in your warm-up. Do it on a couple of traverses or easy climbs to begin with. And then as you start training, getting onto harder problems, try and use that same principle and make sure you're making the most of every single foot placement. So the final technique drill is kind of a bit of a tension session. So we're going to go on a really steep section of climbing, so that can be on the bouldering wall or on a board, as long as it's really steep. And what we're going to do is you've got to keep your feet on and there's no cutting loose. Something I'm seeing more and more these days in climbers that are spending a lot of time on indoor walls is there's a tendency to jump to holds and allow yourself to cut off the wall all the time. So in this training technique, we're going to do moves where you have to keep your feet on all the time. So even if it's a really big move, you have to keep your feet on and get your foot placed on the next hold before doing the next move. So it's just being called a tension session effectively. And it's really good for your core training as well as footwork, and it really maximizes your ability to take weight off your hands. Once you've practiced these techniques, doing them in the warm-up, and I'd recommend trying to build it into almost every session if you're finding footwork to be a limiting factor, start building it into your project climbing sessions. So at the end of a warm-up or when you're trying really hard boulders, start trying to implement each of these techniques individually and see if it makes a difference to your climbing. So you need to take into account the individual moves of your climb, but try and place your feet during the easier sections really quietly. During the hard sections, really focus on the individual part of the foothold you're trying to place your foot on. And once again, focus on keeping tension rather than just cutting loose automatically or jumping, because maybe you don't need to do that and it might save some energy. So build it into your projecting sessions bit by bit and it will become a normal technique for you, and therefore your footwork is going to improve long term. So give it a go, comment below and let us know how you get on. And we'll be producing more technique sessions very soon.